Okay, let's get another look at the ambassador's expulsion then. Sam Mkokeli, politics researcher and journalist, also joining us. Sam, you had previously written just around March the 12th, in fact, really just talking about the ambassador had been shut out from all kinds of conversation then with Washington, actually, and he wasn't able to even speak to delegates within the U.S. Administration belonging to Donald Trump. And so it's no wonder things have escalated like this, because there hasn't even been conversations between the two parties. Good morning. Good morning,
Arabile and the viewers. Of course, it's not surprising things that have developed in the way that they have, leading to the very strong stance against Ebrahim Rasool, South African ambassador. He'd been struggling to get meetings, the people who matter in the US, people around the White House, people who understand President Trump's thinking. So it's been a bit difficult one already. Also, on the other side in Washington, the American the departments that deal with the trade in Africa have not been properly staffed already. So it would have been difficult in any way. So some people make suggestions that South Africa must send people over or must do this or must do that. But they forget to check what does the other side want. If you're going to sit across the table, it's like lobolo negotiations. Two people meet and they want what they want, and one offers what they offer. So we have to understand what is it that Trump wants. We've seen the US and how it's treated President Zelensky. It's quite dramatic. And I don't think Mr. Ramaphosa is going to get a meeting if he went to the US now. Or he can send envoys. They're not going to get a hearing with Trump. What do they bring him? What does he want? So it's an extractionist type government. So you've got to be mindful when you're going to negotiate with them what it is that you're going to bring them. It's very dismissive of South Africa and Africa in general. So it's not surprising where we are. But at the same time, Ambassador Rasool didn't make things easy for himself. And he spoke quite candidly. That's not the job of a diplomatic. It really was idiotic of him to have done that.
So what does this mean then for US-South Africa relations moving forward? If we're not going to get the meeting, if ultimately things are as bad as they are, we don't have an ambassador to the US anymore effectively here, what hope of mending the relationship is there?
Look, there is no hope there. I mean, we're going to get cut out of AGOA. We likely will get reciprocal tariffs, probably 25%, in next month. So things are looking quite gloomy in that sense. So we're going to get ready for that. How do we send goods and services to the US and the implications of the tariffs that are coming next month? That's what we have to deal with and plan. How do we shift goods around to countries that might have an appetite to operate and take goods from South Africa? That's what we have to look at alternative markets. As much as it's good to not give up on the US, but the reality is that this is the kind of presidency they have. That's what he wants. He doesn't take South Africa seriously. And of course, we don't really matter to the US. That's also the other thing. I mean, we're really a minuscule economy in the bigger scheme of things. Trump can do anything he likes, and there will be very little consequence.
What are the chances of us biding our time here and just waiting it out? I know it's only 50 days or so since Donald Trump has taken over presidency. But one thing's, it's only 4 years. Let's just ride out the wave.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, it's not a strategy, but a reality. That's probably going to be the reality. But the economy doesn't wait. I mean, people have to take decisions that will come to fruition in 20 years' time. So if somebody wants to invest in South Africa now, what do you do? There are about 600 US companies in South Africa. How do they operate? So that's a reality. South Africa would have to bide its time whilst building new relationships with Europe, China, and other parts of the world. So that's a complexity, but it really requires a nimble strategy for trade and politics.
Yeah. Sam, let's get a final question in here. How big a problem is it then with South Africa not having the US on its side anymore? And we've spoken about trade, but really in all diplomatic ties ultimately, how negative could it be for our economy, for our growth, for our trade, for relations, for diplomacy globally? Could we find ourselves in a really dire straight situation here?
Look, it's going to be a tough one. AGOA is minuscule in the bigger scheme of things, but general trade with the US is quite crucial. It's a market, the biggest economy. It's a market you want to send your goods to, whether they're minerals or oranges and wines. So it's quite crucial that we have good trade relations with them. So South Africa will suffer under the circumstances. And when we are slapped with more tariffs, it gets expensive for the US side to be buying from South African producers. So our producers will suffer under the circumstances. We're a fragile economy that hasn't been growing for a good 2 decades. So we can't afford this environment. It's not something that helps us at all.
Yeah, journalist and researcher there, Sam Mkokeli. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for making the time then for Newzroom Afrika on this one. It's certainly a growing contestation and a conversation that will continue for some time then. We'll try and give you the latest on it, but for now, what it looks like we do not have an ambassador to the United States anymore because Ebrahim Rasool has been made persona non grata.